Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to this week's Unconventional Wisdom on Grief and Loss. This is session 4, our 4th week doing this. My name is Delilah De La Rosa. I am the founder of Depth Worldwide, which is producing the series on unconventional wisdom on grief and loss. And to my side here is Steven Morrison. He's the creator of Spiritual Workout, the practice that we use to help us move through this whole experience of grief and loss. I'll put it in quotes because we have our beliefs about grief and loss, unconventional beliefs on grief and loss. So that's why I put that there. And he's also the author of An Extra Year, Grief and Loss in the New Age. There we go. How are you today, Steven?
Well, I'm doing just fine. Thanks for asking. I'm continuing to appreciate this project and doing this with you. And I'm really, hearing a little bit more feedback, and people are really, what's the right word? Taken, Delilah, with your willingness to, in real time, do live counseling sessions on this subject.
I love that. And I had no idea that was so appreciated because I received that feedback too, like tearful feedback about that too. And I was like, oh, okay. It was an inspired thought. And yeah. Did you want to finish what you were going to say?
No, so, and it's, an honor and a privilege that you would choose to do this with me. And for me, on my end, as I believe I've said here before, any opportunity to help people to process through current losses and or ones that have occurred a long time ago is really important to do. I've seen up close and personally how we're just not so good at it in our culture and our society. That's nobody's fault. I firmly believe none of us are meant to suffer endlessly. And I firmly believe in the idea of the experiences that we have in life, such as loss, death of a loved one, and any other experience is of use and value to us. In other words, we can use the circumstances of our lives as vehicles for our own growth. And you are committed to that. And that is why I'm here.
Well, for me, it was a no-brainer to do this with you specifically. One, because as we have spoken about in previous sessions, I've been practicing spiritual workout for 20 years possibly now.
After life.
For about 20 years. And I've been working with you on spiritual workout online for over 5 years.
Yes.
And a good chunk of those years of spiritual workout online, I was actually witnessing, running the whole, doing group one-on-ones, if that makes any sense, online, not just on grief and loss, but obviously on a wide range of topics, areas in life where we use this practice. And this practice, just for a little recap, is a practice that's based on 15 universally spiritual concepts that help us live life much more consciously and intentionally. Helps us solve our problems, getting right, especially those that occur in the nitty-gritty of everyday life, and especially in times where we are experiencing loss. For me, this is something that, beyond witnessing and sitting in on these sessions that you've had with folks with regard to grief and loss, but also, and also, what I'm going through in particular, what I've been going through since like 2020 with experiencing certain losses in life,
Mm-hmm.
and it culminating in the loss of my beloved mother last November.
Mm-hmm.
So this is definitely prime time to put into practice spiritual workout. And I say it's a no-brainer because, and I'm validated in saying that, because when my mother passed away and I was presented with different takes on grief and loss on this subject, I
Mm-hmm.
remember feeling like really turned off,
Mm.
very turned off, confused, but mostly turned off with what
What
is out there.
what was
On
confusing?
just confusing in terms of um, confusing in the sense of what people were saying were the normal course of things in
And
this.
differences in those, or
Yeah, differences in that, and also differences in what I was experiencing
mm,
versus what people were saying you would be experiencing,
I
you
see. Yeah.
know? Also, just listening, hearing, reading passages, listening to messaging on this topic and how to move through grief and loss,
Mm-hmm.
and just not being in alignment with what is out there, and perhaps it's because I already just had so much practice with spiritual workout that I was like, belief that doesn't serve me,
Mm-hmm.
the whole time will heal, and you never get over it, you just grow, and there's some truths that I can pick up along the way. It's not like it's complete, like throw this whole shit out.
Right. Well,
However,
yeah.
I just remember feeling like no judgment, but just not being able to relate, not feeling inspired by what I was receiving at the
Mm-hmm.
time. And these days, I mean, just the other day, a friend of mine, God bless her soul, like totally great intentions, but she sent over this passage that she felt would describe how I was moving through this process. And there were just certain things in there, in that passage, that message, that I was, not from her, but one that she saw, on her timeline or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, I don't believe a lot of this. But thank you for the intention there.
Sure.
And perhaps she thought that what I was explaining to her, this passage really spoke to what that was, but I'm not experiencing this in that way,
Yeah.
Again, no judgment. I think people really mean well.
Absolutely.
And frankly, it is unconventional at this time, for people to not automatically say, I'm so sorry for your loss. Oh, like people feel like that's the right thing to do.
Of course.
And so it's no judgment, some judgment when when people do certain things that I'm like, okay, you're making this all about you. Like, I don't want to, I just don't want to. I spoke to you about some of these experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of call it like people geeking it. They don't know what to do, what to say, or they just feel this is their personality. And it's just like, all right, now I know why I became estranged. Okay. But yes, for me, a no-brainer. This, I feel, I really credit spiritual workout, working with you, Steven, as something that's really, really helped me in, I believe, my experiencing this in the healthiest way possible. So with that,
Yes.
let's update folks on where we left off last week.
Okay.
So last week I spoke about how I keep getting these flashbacks. Sometimes it just comes up. They just come up,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes I may go there, right? In
Mm-hmm.
terms of the flashbacks, the memories of my mom sick and in agony.
Right.
Okay. Those 2.5 months. My mom received her, a little recap, my mom received her diagnosis of stage 4 pancreatic cancer late August. The official diagnosis, and then 2.5 months later, passed away in early November. Those 2.5 months, I experienced them as brutal. Pretty, it was challenging. It's my exaggerated form of saying brutal, of saying challenging. Okay, it was brutal for me, and from what she told me, and from what I could see for my mother.
Yes.
Okay, and while I credit again spiritual workout for helping me not see from the get-go, not even having to work to this place, but from the get-go, seeing this is not as an experience that should not have happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's, which has been incredibly helpful for me to not stay in that place of resistance,
Yeah.
which I think would have made it a lot harder for me. However, I do feel that wobbliness when it comes to, sure, that she died, okay, but even more so how she died
Mm-hmm.
with the cancer, in agony, in a lot of resistance, hating what was happening to her, her hating what was happening to her, my um, feeling very charged about what was happening and what I was seeing,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and wanting to reconcile that. And we talked about how, looking at, now that my mom is in the non-physical, looking at her experience from her soul's perspective, right? And the soul work was to intend to connect to that soul's perspective, which would inherently have me connecting to my own soul's perspective on
Mm-hmm.
things. And last week we went so far as to say, as to, ask, perhaps maybe getting answers on why the soul may have chosen this route. And also left it open to the idea that we may or may not get that answer, right? Um, and at the very end, I asked, is there an issue? Is this not serving me to entertain sometimes those thoughts, those flashbacks, those memories, as well as, does it serve me to go there sometimes?
Right. Right.
And we left off last week with tapping. Tapping it out, doing the talk and tapping to see whether this is serving me or not.
Mm-hmm. Which was a soul work, homework assignment.
Assignment, exactly. Yeah. So I'm coming here to say that after our session last week, I did not have these flashbacks and memories coming up.
Mm.
So I was like, I don't think I want to dig and talk and tap if they're not coming up, right? Mm-hmm. And then they started coming up this morning.
Oh. Tick, we got a thing tonight. Better.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, also, I will say that I started watching that show, that series on Netflix, Apple Cider Vinegar. I'm not sure if you've heard of it.
No, but I know it has.
You know what it's about?
No.
Oh, then you just saw it on Netflix.
Well, I know apple cider vinegar has meaning to you.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's
Well, apple cider vinegar, just a short recap here, short summary, is based on a true story, although they're saying it's loosely based on this influencer that faked cancer in order and said that she healed her cancer through natural remedies in order for her to it's actually I'm actually tripping out because this could have many triggers because they talk about cancer. They go, you see people going through diagnoses and you see the choices that people have to make in what kind of treatment, if anything, what approach to take, beliefs and everything. So I'm totally intrigued, totally compelled by this series. And I'm actually surprised by how well I've been able to take in the data, like
without being triggered.
Without it. I'm telling you, like they're recreating a lot of the experiences that I went through with my mom, right? And so I was actually tripping out over how I was not so triggered. If anything, my husband was more of like, I don't know, this is like really heavy. This is like really heavy. And I was like, I know, but like, I'm surprised that I'm actually eager for more, like wanting to take it in. And there was this second to last episode that I saw by myself because my husband went to go to sleep and I just couldn't help myself. And there was a scene, I don't really want to, spoiler alert, there was a scene where one of the protagonists is basically having to accept that she's on her death journey, right? And she was, again, spoiler alert, she's on her death journey and she speaks on how scared she was. And that's where it came in. She also speaks on a loved one's death, also of cancer. And another loved one asked her, did she die in agony? And she was like, yeah. And that was another thing. So I think that that's what brought it up this morning for me. Because I started feeling that weight in my chest, right? And I could have tapped right then and there, but I realized that I was like, what do I tap on though? So that's when I was like, you know what? I have unconventional wisdom on grief and loss tonight. Let's just do it with Steven. Although I did feel like perhaps what I could tap is like anything and everything that is not allowing me to accept the manner in which my mom passed away. Let it go, right? That's what I was thinking could be the thing. So I come here tonight to tap on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we also going to review kind of where else you are in this whole process?
That's where I'm at right now.
That's where, okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now is that it's that and another thing that if we get to it, we get to it. But it's about the health anxiety.
Your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Coming off the heels of this experience with my mom, as well as what I experienced previously, Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So when we left off last week, the suggestion was to tap because you were uncertain. I'm just reviewing it for my own self. you were uncertain about the value, if there was any, of replaying or going back to how your mom died and the story that you are kind of quote unquote stuck with because of how discordant it was for both of you. And certainly for you after she left. So
my mom, I will say, if my mom expressed this acceptance, you
yes.
know, of what was going on, I don't think I would have this, right? It's just
you would
more,
have gone along with her acceptance.
yeah. And so that's why it's a bit weighty on my heart, because I saw her in such agony. When they said that word in the series, I was like,
because that's the word you use.
that's when well, I didn't really use that word. I used the word anguished, distress, right? But agony, I was like, ding, ding, ding. That's exactly
the
emotion.
Right. Okay. And the story of her illness and dying for you, just a quick recap, is
my mom was about a year away from retiring. She has never really had any like health complications, you know. She was a very youthful, vibrant woman, would walk 8 miles a day, easy breezy, seemingly had much more energy than even I did. And I'm like, 20 years younger than she was, right? We had such a close relationship, such a great relationship. She, not just with me, but also with my brother. We each had our beautiful relationships with our mom. And, first half of last year, vibrant, youthful, energetic as always, July, celebrated my grandfather's 90th birthday. She was the one, she celebrated over her place, a lot of energy. She picked up an air conditioner, installed, I mean, it was like, and then a week later started feeling some back pain, right? And then it just progressed to the point where she got the diagnosis. And from that diagnosis, but really when she started chemotherapy in September is when there was like a rapid, very blatant decline, physical decline, mental and emotional decline. Not just from what I was able to see, but from what she expressed to me directly, right? I saw her and heard her feeling very scared, upset, regrets for some of the things that she experienced in life. She, our relationship, it just didn't, it wasn't the same as it was all those years before, right?
Yeah.
Like I noticed a little bit of a separation, which I think she initiated because she needed her time, And I think that there is something in me that like, feels that, right? But I'm also really grateful that I had all those years before those 2.5 months where it was like, oh my God, excellent, beautiful, fluid relationship with my mother. Never choppy. I mean, we never even really had a fight, like, um, so yeah, it was like, she was just like checked out a little bit. Um, and I don't know if that was just also like her own like emotional, spiritual experience, processing like what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I don't know if there was an actual like mental, like physical impact on her mental health too, So that hurts a bit too. So that's the narrative.
Yeah, let's come back to that later. If that idea, that kind of separation piece. So when we were talking about it last week, the question, I just want to make sure I'm recalling correctly. The question was around, I sometimes have flashbacks to my mom in the hospital, dying, telling
With the
me the
diagnosis,
diagnosis and the treatments and her,
her
seeing her
crying.
decline
Yeah.
and hearing her talk. And sometimes those memories just come. And then you were saying also, sometimes I just go to them, go to the story, go
I'll,
to
I'll, I'll, yeah. And sometimes I can't tell one
which
from the
one
other,
first.
like when
Yeah.
they come up
Mm-hmm.
and when I'm going there, like
Yeah.
I can't tell sometimes.
Right.
There's like some overlap.
Mm-hmm. And so the suggestion, the idea was, well, talk and tap. That's something that tapping is EFT, emotional freedom technique, that we use it all the time here in spiritual workout world, because it's really just such an effective tool for everything that we're doing, essentially with our minds. Changing beliefs and creating intentions and investing our time in them, and where we get tripped up, tapping is really helpful in so many ways. So talking and tapping is one of the uses and the applications that we do. In other words, it will, the idea was it would help Delilah to see, A, am I going to this on purpose? B, am I, are these flashbacks useful, helpful, valuable, or should I not be doing this? So that was the open-ended question. And now you're saying you didn't quite have the impetus until this morning, but it also sounds like the question has shifted a little bit, somewhat, to, well, I think it's helpful here, especially if people are only listening here and didn't hear the beginning, which was the first session homework was Delilah had this story. It's like, here's the story. Here's what happened. My mom got sick. She was in the hospital. She did a treatment. She died, and it was awful and it was painful. And Delilah was having a lot of resistance, dare I say, to how it all went down. I don't like how it went down. My mom didn't like how it went down. I didn't like how it went down. And now I keep replaying it over and over again. And it's not pleasant. It's not helpful. It's all negative. It's all bad. Like, it looked terrible. She said it was terrible, and I could see it was terrible. So the first, is this okay to go into this just as a little?
Yeah.
background?
Oh no, this is great.
So the first soul work, homework assignment for Delilah was, suggestion was, if we're spiritual beings having human experiences, which is the basis of all the work that I do, then what might be, we know what it looked like here. We know what it looked like with Delilah and her mom and everybody around. What we have no idea about is, what did it look like from the soul perspective for both her mom and for Delilah. So we'll talk more about that. So that was part of it. So here we are, and we're still, and not still, but we are questioning the value. Like, can I let go of these repetitive thoughts and feelings and replays?
Can I let go of the resistance?
Pardon me?
Can I let go of the resistance?
The resistance to?
That's in the the how she died.
Right. So the non-acceptance, which is the resistance, right? Yeah. So let's just start there. Thank you.
Because I'm calling it non-acceptance.
Yeah.
I
So
think
on a,
that's what it is.
yeah. So on
Yeah.
a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is, yeah, I'm not accepting this story at all. I don't like it. I don't like how she died.
8.
And 0 is okay, an 8. So this is just, we take the temperature. We're going to talk and tap for a while, and then we'll see if anything has changed. Okay, ready to roll?
Yeah.
So I trust your legs, feet, ankles are uncrossed as usual. Okay, and we're going to rock and roll. So even though I seem to continually replay.
Even though I seem to continually replay.
The story of my mom's illness and death.
The story of my mom's agonized story of my mom's illness and death.
And there seems to be part of me that is not accepting how it happened.
There seems to be a part of me that is not accepting how it happened.
I love and accept myself completely.
I love and accept myself completely.
Even though I'm struggling with accepting.
Even though I'm struggling with accepting.
How my mom died.
How my mom died.
I love and accept myself completely.
I love and accept myself completely.
Even though the journey that my mom took.
Even though the journey that my mom took.
From being healthy and vibrant.
From being healthy and vibrant, first half of the year.
To not feeling well.
To not feeling well.
Receiving a cancer diagnosis.
Receiving a cancer a serious cancer, very advanced, terminal cancer diagnosis, essentially.
Yes. Yeah. And engaging in treatment.
Engaging in treatment.
With the hope that it would have some effect, some positive effect.
With the hope that it would have some positive effect.
I'm choosing here now.
I'm choosing here and now.
To see if I can move into a more accepting place.
To see if I can move into a more accepting place.
Of how it all went down.
Of how it all went down. So I was right earlier.
I can accept that my mom passed.
I can accept that my mom passed.
Besides, yes, it wasn't what she wanted, it wasn't what I wanted.
Wasn't what she wanted, wasn't what I wanted.
It wasn't what my brother or any of our family members wanted.
Wasn't what my brother, our family, any loved ones wanted.
Under the nose. But what I struggled to accept.
But what I struggle to accept.
And what's really hard to wrap my head around.
What's really hard to wrap my head around.
Collarbone is how it happened.
Is how it happened.
It's hard for me to accept how it happened.
It's hard for me to accept how it happened.
It's hard for me to accept how it happened.
It's hard for me to accept how it happened.
Eyebrow. I have a lot of judgment.
I have a lot of judgment.
Sides of the eyes about how it happened.
About how it happened.
Under the eyes. For example.
For example.
There you go.
I
don't like.
I experienced it as a brutal experience.
And when I say brutal, what I mean is
there was just no relief. It just felt like one blow after the other after the other. It was such a brutal decline in in her physical health, emotional health,
Mhm.
and mental health.
And thrown into the mix,
And thrown into the mix
eyebrow, is my recollection, sides of the eyes, of some form of separation under the eyes that my mom seemed to be engaging under the nose. And after she passed,
And after she passed,
and since she has passed, collarbone, I keep replaying how very upset I am under the arm about how it all went down.
May I add something about
Please.
brutality?
Mhm.
Because I think by elaborating,
Yes, please.
I feel like I can get out some more energy.
Yes.
Elaborating on the brutality that
Okay.
in which I saw this experience, the decline, elaborating on the decline, it, to me and to her, it seemed to have attacked, taken away everything that she loved in life.
Mhm. Yeah. She couldn't walk around. She couldn't eat food she wanted.
She would cry about it.
Yeah.
She would cry about it.
And seeing my mom suffer
And seeing my mom suffer
was my worst fear.
was my worst fear.
This whole thing was my worst fear realized.
This whole thing was my worst fear realized.
This was my worst fear realized.
My worst fear realized.
Seeing her in agony.
Seeing her in agony.
Listening to her pain.
Listening to her pain. Seeing her pain.
Hmm. And the beliefs that I have.
And the beliefs that I have.
Under the nose. That it wasn't okay.
That it wasn't okay. It was like, yeah, it wasn't okay. It was just like, damn.
It wasn't okay the way it happened.
Yeah, it wasn't okay the way it happened.
There's the fact that it happened, that she passed.
There's the fact that it happened, that she passed.
Under the arm, which I don't struggle with as much. I wish she were here.
Of course, I wish she were here, right?
But I accept that this happens.
But I accept that this happened, and who am I to say it shouldn't have happened?
But what's really hard, but what's really hard to accept.
But what's really hard to accept.
Guys, what I really resist accepting.
What I really find myself resisting and accepting.
Under the eyes is again how it happened.
How it happened.
Under
like
the nose.
The soul choosing this way of leaving this plane.
Yeah. And so the piece I'm missing is some understanding.
The piece I'm missing is some understanding.
Or some way of reconciling. Under the arm that perhaps, maybe. There's more to the story than I know. But until I know it, this is all I have.
Mind you, this was also her worst fear.
Yes.
For herself.
Yeah. And I know it's for you as well.
Yep.
So something happened in a way that I can't countenance.
Something happened in the way that I can't countenance.
Under the nose, and now I'm just kind of a little stuck.
And now I'm I'm a little stuck. It's
That's
either
good.
I feel like either I, feel it and entertain it,
Mhm.
or it comes up and do like I try to avoid it, but I feel like if I try to avoid it, like put my attention elsewhere, then I'm
Mhm.
repressing it.
Right, under the arm. What I'm believing about it is
What I'm believing about
the whole thing and how it went down.
the whole thing and how it went down
Mhm. Is, let's see if we can isolate some beliefs. It shouldn't have happened this way.
is I don't feel like it shouldn't have happened, but
Well, I'm just getting the ball rolling here. What do you believe?
yeah. Like I'm trying to think what it is.
It was bad. It was wrong. It was
It
unnecessary.
was fucked up.
It was fucked up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was fucked up how it happened. It was fucked up that it's like a nightmare scenario, one of hers. I think mine, if it was just my nightmare scenario, I would be like, okay, this is obviously for
Well,
my,
all right. So this idea that it was fucked up.
this idea that was fucked up.
It was fucked up.
It was fucked up.
What are other ways to say that?
It was messed up.
It was messed up. Was it wrong? Was it,
Felt
what was fucked up about it?
that she went through such a monumental transition
Mhm.
in a way that was like a nightmare for her.
It was a nightmare.
It was a nightmare.
It was messed up.
It was messed up.
It was fucked up.
It was fucked up.
There was agony.
There's agony.
How about it was a nightmare?
It was a nightmare.
What else does messed up, fucked up mean?
Bringing up doubts about our intentions mattering, our beliefs, whether we really have a say in life, those doubts.
So it didn't go the way anybody wanted it to go.
Didn't go the way anyone wanted it to go.
Under the eyes. And that leaves me doubting.
And that leaves me doubting.
Under the nose, or at least wondering.
Wondering.
The chin, if all of this conscious living is of any use and value.
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
Wouldn't go that far. But it does leave me wondering how much of a say we have in life.
So what was the intention that was not fulfilled?
Great health.
Okay, but that's for your intention. For
my mom's intention though, too.
For herself, but okay, all right.
This is what I would, how I was seeing it too, was like, this is.
So I didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't think this would happen to my mom.
Well, it's not that I didn't think it was going to happen to my mom, because again, I had a fear of this.
Yes.
But I just know that she put an emphasis. She focused on good health.
Yes. So the belief is if you focus on good health, then you will not die of cancer when you're 65.
Yeah.
So I have a belief that she shouldn't have died the way she died. When she died.
I have a belief that she shouldn't have died the way that she died. When she
and
died.
when she died. Yeah, under the arm. So you remember these? So what I just held up for Delilah is what we do, what we recognize in spiritual workout all the time, and any kind of intention setting, that it's not our job how and when things happen. It just isn't, ever. So I struggle with accepting how it happened and when it happened.
I struggle with accepting how it happened and when it happened. Actually, I don't even know, the when is not so strong, but the how is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't like how it happened.
I don't like how it happened.
It's hard for me to accept how it happened.
Hard for me to accept how it happened.
It's hard for me to accept how it happened.
It's hard for me to accept how it happened. May I add something?
Go ahead.
It's hard for me to accept how my mom experienced it too, her resistance.
Yeah.
Which is part of how it happened, but you know what I mean, specifically.
So we're just going to now focus this tapping a little bit more, and then we'll stop for a while and see where we are. So right now we're just going to focus on any and all resistance, conscious and otherwise.
We're going to focus on any and all resistance, conscious and otherwise.
That I, Delilah, have.
That I, Delilah, have.
In accepting how my mom died.
In accepting how my mom died.
All of this resistance.
All of this resistance.
Eyebrow, let it go.
Let it go.
Sides of the eyes, let it go.
Let it go.
Under the eyes, let it go.
Let it go.
Collarbone. Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Wherever it came from.
Wherever it came from.
Why ever I'm experiencing it.
Why ever I'm experiencing it.
It is safe to let it go now.
It's safe to let it go.
Let it go now.
Let it go now.
Good. Deep breath and wrist. Peace.
Peace.
Still on the same resistance. Eyebrow. Let it go.
Let it go.
Sides of the eyes. Let it go.
Let it go.
Under the eyes. Let it go.
Let it go.
Good. Keep breathing. Eyebrow. I'm sorry. Collarbone. Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Wherever it came from.
Wherever it came from.
However deep or far back it goes.
However deep and far back it goes.
It's safe to let it go now.
It's safe to let it go now.
Let it go now.
Let it go now.
Good. Deep breath and wrist. Peace.
Peace.
Again, eyebrow. Let it go.
Let it go.
Sides of the eyes. Let it go.
Let it go.
Under the eyes. Let it go.
Let it go.
Collarbone. Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
However deep or far back it goes.
However deep or far back it goes.
Why ever I'm experiencing it.
Why ever I'm experiencing it.
It's good and time and safe to let it go now.
It's good and time and safe to let it go now.
Let it go now.
Let it go now.
Good. Deep breath and wrist. Peace.
Peace.
A little more.
I have something that I think came
Okay.
up when you said
This is
how
what we do, everybody. We just kind of tap for a while, stop, talk, check in, and see what's going on. So go.
when you mention how far back it goes, I think part of the resistance and the how it happened is that there was nothing that I could do. There was nothing that I could do.
So even though it was and is really painful,
Even though it was and is really painful
to realize that when my mom was in such pain and distress,
that when my mom was in such pain and distress,
there was just nothing I could do.
there was just nothing that I could do.
I love and accept myself completely.
I love and accept myself completely.
Even though there was nothing I could do with my mom.
Even though there was nothing that I could do with my mom.
To relieve her pain.
To relieve her pain.
To stop what was happening.
To stop what was happening.
I love and accept myself completely.
I love and accept myself completely.
Good. Even though it's really painful.
Even though it's really painful.
To think. About how I couldn't do anything.
How I couldn't do anything.
To help my mom.
To help my mom.
And this might be part of why it's so hard to accept how she died.
And this might be part of why it's so hard to accept how she died.
I'm choosing here now.
I'm choosing here and now.
To just air out this idea, this belief.
To just air out this idea, this belief.
My brow. It's obviously touching me very deeply.
It's obviously touching me very deeply.
Sides of the eyes. This memory that I have.
This memory that I have.
Under the eyes, when I replay it all.
When I replay it all.
Under the nose. That there's nothing I could really do.
There was nothing that I could do.
Chin. There was nothing I could do to affect a change in what was happening.
To affect a change in what was happening.
I could just love my mom and
I could just love my mom and just be there for her.
And be there for her, with her. Exactly. There was nothing I could do that was going to change anything.
There was nothing that I was going to be. There was nothing that I could do to change anything.
Yeah, there was nothing I could do to change anything, no matter how badly I wanted to.
There was nothing that I could do to change anything, no matter how badly I wanted to.
Eyebrow. So maybe it's hard to accept how she died.
Maybe it's hard to accept how she died.
Sides of the eyes, because I wasn't able to have a part in that.
I wasn't able to have a part of that. I didn't have a say.
Yeah, didn't have a say, didn't have a part, nothing for me to do on that level.
Didn't have a say, didn't have a part, nothing for me to do on that level.
I mean, I just had to accept it.
I just had to accept it.
and I'm still having trouble accepting it.
And I'm still having trouble accepting that. You know,
know.
That part of it.
Yeah, that part of how it all happened.
That part of how it all happened.
How it all happened and how I couldn't affect a change.
How it all happened and how I couldn't affect a change.
How it all happened and how I couldn't affect a change.
How it all happened and how I couldn't affect a change.
Good. Nice deep breath.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And it really speaks to having a say, you know, and um, what I am and what I am not responsible for, and you know, just accepting those things, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, that's it. That's what has me stuck there.
Yeah.
Well, not attached.
No, I
I'm
get that.
I'm moving, you know,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
it's you know, has
Well,
its
this is what we do. We're always looking for what is underneath
yeah.
how we're feeling and what we're doing. And if you ask me, and not just me, you know, all healing occurs in the belief system of the person seeking the healing. So, talking, tapping, moving energy. And what happened? A belief that was, you hadn't mentioned that once in all the time that we've talked. Do some tapping, move some energy. Oh, here's some. Is there anything else? Oh, yeah, here's something.
We touched
Maybe,
on it last week a
did we?
little tiny bit, a
And that's it.
little tiny. Not that that's what was behind
Right,
that, you know, but we didn't make that correlation.
right.
But we did touch on my having such a hard time seeing my mom,
Yeah,
just, you know, distress.
yeah.
And
You,
uh,
you couldn't fix it.
I couldn't fix it. And that was something that even before all of this happened was a thing for me
Yeah,
with respect to my mom, you know, and not even just my mom, but some loved ones, my
yeah.
husband, you know, just my not being able to do anything about the affliction, the whatever,
Right,
you know.
right.
Um, uh, so yeah, like we touched on it, but we didn't make that correlation as
Yeah, I
to
certainly didn't at the time.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
And I obviously didn't, you know. It was really until we were talking and tapping here and you brought up however far back. And
saw.
that,
Yeah, and I saw that reaction. So
yeah, like I was like, oh, okay. That's that it pointed me in that direction.
yeah, and all the tapping and talking we were doing prior to that was also intended to, you know, just sort of loosen things up a little bit and
Yeah.
see what other thoughts and ideas are swimming around. I mean, that's really, you know, that's one of the uses and one way to use it. And then we focused just a little bit more. We sort of focused more and kept it general, any and all resistance. What's in there? What is it? And we specifically said in the unconscious or subconscious, right? And so, and then something that was a little below the surface came up attached to this idea. So, and then Delilah can say that's it, or at least that's a big chunk of it, or
Yeah, it's like a
maybe it's
little
the
bit,
whole
it's like a
piece.
I don't want to say it like this is that this is it, but it's almost like it's wanting to save, right? Like,
Well, and then what I would do next, not
yes, please.
necessarily
I
right
was gonna
here,
ask
right.
you. I was gonna
What I
ask.
would do next is write that down. You know, I couldn't, there was nothing I could do. And then just ask yourself, are there other beliefs, you know, brothers and sisters and cousins of that belief? And then let's see if there's more to undo, or if you can, or perhaps it'll just be enough to see what they are. You know what I mean?
Right, right. I do know what you mean. I think so we in this tapping rounds of tapping, we saw that there's this correlation in my wanting to save, wanting to do something, not being able to do anything
Mm-hmm.
to bring my mom relief, to affect any type of change in this experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how do I address that so that I can accept that
Well,
fact?
I think the next piece for you, along with what else, either what does it mean that you couldn't help,
Oh,
or
okay, okay, okay.
yeah, because I my hunch is there are a few other strains of this
What does
belief.
it mean to me? Okay.
And if underneath it all, even if it was just a little below the surface, was, man, I'm a competent person. I know how to help people. I know how to do things, and I couldn't do anything. And so what we're looking for next is, does that thought, I couldn't do anything, account for not wanting to accept how it happened, because then you're part of that mix? I mean, this is like going deep with it. In other words, if you have a belief like I couldn't do anything, and therefore, or other than just watch her be on this journey and leave her body and be done with this life, and I couldn't do anything to change it, so therefore it's really hard for me to accept how it happened.
I don't know if it was about so much that, as opposed to I couldn't do anything about her agony.
Same for me, it's all in the same category. Yeah. Okay. So the question is this idea just a free floating idea that, we're going to want to, undo that belief anyway, right?
But I like that question about what does it mean to me?
Yes.
That I couldn't, like, that actually is the question that raised my attention.
Yeah. And so let's, between now and next time or however, is just look and see what else is in there. That's the first question. The second question is this related to, and is this what the resistance to accepting how it happened is based on or not? Because this whole conversation was, what am I resisting? Why am I resisting all of that? What can I do to get into a place of acceptance? If the answer is, well, then you're going to have to accept that there was nothing you could do as well. You have to accept whatever else, if anything, is mixed into that.
I think it may be two things. I think that it is in large part what it's based on, that acceptance of how she passed away, that because I couldn't affect change, I couldn't do anything about that. I do feel like it's based on that, as well as what does it say about our having a say in our lives, period.
Well, okay, so
no,
this is really, so you're assuming let me make sure I've got this right. It sounds like you're saying your mom essentially had an intention to live a longer life full with more other things, and that's not how it happened. Is that kind of what you're saying?
I don't know about a longer life, but her death would be a lot more peaceful. She would be in great health.
So you're saying she had an intention for a peaceful death and then didn't get a peaceful death?
She had an intention for great health,
which she had up until the end of the last few months of her life, right?
Right.
Yeah. So this is where this is like a double whammy, because I'm going to say two very different things. This is not a situation to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, who really knows what they're thinking, they're doing, what their energy is, what their, contract, I don't love that word, their contract, their purpose, their life path here. We don't ever really know that stuff about anybody. And yet, so on the one hand, there's that, which is just sort of unhelpful territory to play around in, just because.
But may I say something about that?
Yes.
I know that I don't have any say or won't have that information as to why that was her journey. However, I take that experience and apply it to my own life. And I'm like, well, I have intentions for great health, peaceful death.
Right.
And look at what happened with my mom.
But again, we cannot compare ourselves to
It's
other
still
people.
doing that?
You
Okay.
just, it's a losing proposition because we don't know. We think we know and we don't.
Okay.
So the double whammy for me.
So I
I'm
can't
saying
apply it to myself is what you're saying.
you can intend for yourself all day long, and I hope you will.
But I can't apply her experience.
Right.
In
Even
her
if she
having
said
great
to you
health,
and all that. Yeah. Because
all that and say that, hey, look at that. That's an anomaly to what I'm believing about our having a say and intentions about our health.
right,
And
but you're comparing and you're making a massive assumption that your intention and how you cultivate it and what it means to you and how aligned you are with it is exactly the same as your mom's.
right. Okay.
And you just can't do that.
Yeah.
Neither can I, neither can any of us. That's
Okay.
yeah. But again, to cycle back around, on the other hand, I'm encouraging you to create a different story of how she died by getting into what it looks like as
The soul level.
the being part of her that is still alive and well and cancer free and pain free.
So 2 things then. One, for like going into next week.
Yes.
One, what does it mean to me that I couldn't affect change?
Right.
Right. And number 2, which is what we started with, actually, this whole series, is seeking a different narrative.
Yeah. So what's happened to that project?
Oh, that's still in progress.
Okay.
Like I said, I speak to my mom.
Yeah.
I
would love an update on how that project is going.
Oh, I mean, I can give you a update now. It's like I'm speaking to my mom more so.
Okay.
You know, like now instead of just kind of thinking of her in third person, and
yes.
I'm actually like, okay, mom, da 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 da, you know, like when I'm feeling that weightiness in my heart, when some of these flashback or memories come in, or maybe even thinking of the physical loss, you know, I'll go right into speaking to my mom.
Does that change the energy in your chest?
Part of the time it does. I also noticed that when taking like my brother's lead on this, when I think about bringing my mom into the future, so when I'm doing things like, I think this is why I didn't come into this week having done the tapping, because I wasn't getting those memories and flashbacks, because I was doing things last week going into this week where I was bringing my mom into the future.
Yeah, good.
Right. So I was doing some financial planning off of the inheritance, and that was, you know what I mean? So it just had the energy, future.
Yes,
right.
Good. Yeah.
Now,
so of course you weren't trying to look back. And
exactly. So that's why I didn't have that, you know, coming up, but then it came up. So, but right in time. Right in time.
But it also doesn't feel, at least to me today, like it's like you can't continue down the forward path.
Oh, no, not at all.
It's not so heavy that it's holding you back.
No, not at all. Not at all. If anything, it's kind of like, okay, sometimes this comes up, but then the future stuff, you know, bringing my mom into the future. I'm just going to call it that, bringing my mom into the future.
Yeah,
right.
It's beautiful.
Then that comes up a lot. And that actually comes up a lot more. Like that's the majority of what I'm experiencing.
Good.
Right. So
are you having more signs and things like that we were talking about?
I'm seeing more rainbows. Like I'm talking about even rainbows in like Lifetime movies kind of shit. You know what I mean? I was like, wait, there's like rainbows. even like the reflection on a camera, like the filming, the
Yeah.
camera, I'll see the rainbows. I'm like, wow, like I was in a Pilates session and there was like a rainbow inside, like on the floor. And I was like, oh my God, like a rainbow, right? So lots of rainbows. And today I saw the light flickering in the bathroom.
And then what did you?
And a couple of days ago in the kitchen.
And did you engage that?
Yeah, I was just like, oh, Mommy, is that you?
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always have a smile on my face when I see the rainbows. I'm like, all right, Mom. Yeah. Yeah. Because again, it's not even just the rainbows, because they probably always, they're always there. But it's just what is compelling me to look at them.
Yeah. What is directing your attention? Exactly.
Yeah. What's directing my attention?
Yes.
That is the strongest part.
Yeah. Good. So I think last week it was, more of that. Don't complain that it's only rainbows, asking for more stuff, right?
No. I like the idea of
and
directing, what's directing me to look.
Yeah. And being light about it all. And, now she does lights and tomorrow it'll be something else. And just, to continue to invite all manner of, ways to say hi at a minimum and then keep on going.
Oh, I forgot this amazing one. I had a dream where I remembered in the dream my waving at my mom, and she was like about 3-4 feet away in a doorway. And I was waving hi to my mom and she waved hi back, and she was with a smile on her face, very calm. Forgot about that one. That's a big one. That was like 2 days ago, I think.
And how did that feel?
Well, I didn't remember it until today.
When you remembered it?
Oh, nice. It was like, oh, that's another one.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So keep going with all that.
My asking my mom, let me know that you're okay, right? That you're here and you're okay.
One more question. Have you gotten any words down on paper yet? With regard to, from the first week, the writing a different story?
No.
The first homework, soul work?
No, I have not written it down.
Okay.
So
all right.
That's more to work with here.
Yeah. And again, ask her to help with that.
Yeah.
Help me understand, help me see it from the view you now have that neither one of us had before.
I think perhaps I didn't go there at that time because I needed to go through this today.
Yeah.
Right now. It was like a lot of wobbliness there, perhaps.
Yeah. So how does that all feel now? How does the resistance? So I don't want to, it's hard to accept how my mom died, 0 to 10. Where's that all right now?
I would say it's more like on the 6 range.
All right. So it's come down a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Like 5 to 6 range.
All right, so
and I say that because it felt really good to pinpoint.
Yes.
That what was that thing that was like,
exactly something. So what we've learned, however we got there, and through some tapping and talking and all of that and loosening things up and something else, a different chunk of the puzzle, a different piece of the puzzle, is that Delilah's resistance to accepting how it all happened is softer right now than it was when we started.
Yeah.
And that's what so that's evidence that we're in the right ballpark. If you can go from 7, 8 down to 5, 6, that's not insignificant at all. And so again, when you look into that question of what does it mean to you that you couldn't affect change to everything that's happening, and continuing on with these other components of staying connected with your mom, and then let's see where we are next week, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was that's a major thing. I feel like pinpointing what
Yeah.
that thing was that was just tying me to these flashbacks, these memories, and this
Right.
narrative, really, right? This
Yes,
narrative.
exactly. Yes.
Why did it have that kind of charge? Identifying that, I think, really took out a lot of that steam,
Yeah. Good. That's what we're here to do. And
Yeah.
let's face it, the conventional way, nobody's going into this stuff.
No,
They just carry it around
no.
unwittingly.
They're like, of course you're gonna feel like that. Of
Right.
course.
Yeah.
And you just, time will heal that. Just kind of, you won't think about it as much anymore. And it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe not in this, maybe not for this, but it will come up in some other thing, this whole idea of mind not being able to affect change in something.
But in fact, look, beliefs matter because they create experience, whether we're conscious of them or not, whether they're even true or not.
Yeah.
And so to become conscious of a belief or bring it to the surface, to be able to look at it and say, okay, does this serve me to continue to believe this or not? That's the only question to ever ask with beliefs. And there we go.
Whew. This was a good one. They've all been great, but this was like, definitely eye-opening, heart-opening.
Good. Well, you're doing it. You are doing it. So.
And you're helping me. So thank you. Well, thank you, Steven, once again. I hope that this is something that others can really take from, really get some clarity, perhaps if they're dealing with something similar, the same or similar, with accepting how their loved one passed away or accepting how a loss happened, went down. Hopefully this is something that can help them gain some clarity.
And for somebody else, even if they're having the same issue with the accepting how, might be for very different reasons.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah. Not what
so don't go hunting for the belief that Delilah uncovered. No, just see what you have.
Your beliefs.
That's specific to you.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's specific to you. So I hope that this is something that is of value for folks out there. And yeah, I believe so too, from what I'm seeing and hearing. Next week we come back, same time, same day and time, Wednesday, next Wednesday, session 5, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, usually for an hour. We go over, it's very flexible. And I also encourage anyone, if you have something to say, a comment, a question, you can just feel free to post that comment in the chat there, or a question even, we welcome that. Yes, it's live, raw, unedited sessions between myself and Steven. However, anyone that has a question, this is open. That's why I left the chat open, and, any questions, or you can even email me at depthworldwide@gmail.com if there is a question for next time that you'd like answer, some clarity. That's totally fine as well. So it's open for a reason.
Great.
Anything you'd like to add, Steven, before we go?
Just a little more extra thank you.
All right. Well, thank you once again, Steven, creator of Spiritual Workout and author of An Extra Year, Grief and Loss in the New Age. It's like published in 2008. Yeah. So that means 17 years. Yeah, 17 years. And still very much really impactful. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.